When I came back to Kenshu a couple years later to head up all of marketing, I really wanted to take some of that digital acquisition practice and kind of living and breathing the data all day, every day into the company and see what we could do with a little bit of a different mindset. We had done like a little bit of lead gen earlier as a marketing team, but really we were, kind of classic early 2010s SaaS marketing mindset, which is really around events and PR and analyst relations. I kind of took everything I had learned and threw it back into the company that I already knew and loved.
In this episode, I'm talking to Margo Kahnrose, CMO of Skai.io, an all-in-one ad platform that specializes in channels like paid search, social, and retail media. They serve some of the largest companies in the world like Capital One, Verizon, Etsy, Microsoft, Pepsi, and more. We're going to talk about number one, the company's top 3 marketing channels, paid ads, events, and content in this order. Number 2, the secrets of event marketing. In some cases, Margo is spending $750,000 on a single event. We're going to talk about the economics of running events in this scale, and also how do we make events memorable. And number 3, we're going to try to figure out all the little tiny details, like how much a company raised in capital, how much they make per year in revenue, and how much does Margo make as a CMO. And every single time Margo can't answer a question, we both have to take a shot of hot sauce. Wish me luck, Martians. I hope you enjoy this one. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today, we got the CMO of a very interesting company called Skai. Skai, basically, they're an omni-channel advertising platform. They specialize in, the typical commerce channels like paid search, paid social, retail media, etc. We got the CMO, Margo Kahnrose, with us. Margo, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited.
Yeah, it is late where you are at. You're in Israel, right?
I'm in Israel. It is 6:39 p.m., so not so late. I can still stay up this late.
You got a little bit of city in the back. You got a little bit of grass or like some greenery. So you got the good mix. Well, Margo, thanks so much for coming on the show. We connected a few weeks back, and the theme of the show. We're going to start off the show with a shot of hot sauce. And as the show progresses, I'm going to ask tough questions about how your company grows in terms of marketing. You guys are working with large companies like Etsy, Verizon, Microsoft, Pepsi. We want to know all the marketing secrets. And every single time you cannot answer a question, we both take another shot of hot sauce and we move on to the next question. So what do you have for us today? What's your weapon of choice?
I poured myself a glass. It's not very Israeli, so forgive me. I just have some classic Tabasco garlic pepper.
Okay.
Flavor.
Yeah. Do you guys eat a lot of spicy food out there?
Oh yeah. No, we do. Yeah. And Israel, the Middle East, right? We have our own flavor of it. But I'm still a bit American, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I have 3 today.
Okay.
On this hand, this is a habanero, a bunch of different habaneros that I got from Cancun. And this is a ghost that I will lead up to later on.
Oh, wow.
And this is a ghost. This is Carolina Reaper. It is the spiciest one I have.
Okay.
This one I got from Portugal. Not Portugal, Portland. Why did I say Portugal? I've never been to Portugal. All right. So I'm going to start with the habanero. We'll start off light.
I feel like I'm not going to keep up with you. Like you're an aficionado. And that's what this is about. That's what this is really about, is you showing off your hot sauce.
So what Margo is saying is I'm a crazy guy. I can totally see. All right. I'll start off a little light. Cheers.
Okay. Cheers. Okay.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen to you. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Looking at your LinkedIn, you've worked at a variety of different creative marketing roles. You kind of started your career in 2006, it looks like, and then you just kept kind of leveling up, and now you're the CMO of a company called Skai. So tell us a little bit about your journey in marketing?
I mean, it's pretty untraditional, I think. I actually am sort of like a creative at my core, and I went to art school, and I planned to be, maybe like a creative director in an ad agency. That was like my big, one day kind of dream. But when I graduated college, it was like, first of all, I did take like a marketing business program in the art school. So I think I already kind of knew that I was a bit, enterprising in my pursuit. But when I graduated, it was 2003. It was like the helm of the internet revolution. E-commerce was in its infancy. Digital marketing was in its infancy. And my last class that I took in school was an HTML class, and I was like, "Oh, this is so fun! I love this." So I kind of pivoted very quickly into web technologies, web design, web development. But because I have this creative, kind of side of the brain, I was always doing like the writing for my clients and the designing. I was kind of like throwing in all the marketing functions on the side, even while I was like hand coding sites and optimizing them for search. So at some point, and I was working for consumer companies that were building their e-com businesses. And at some point, I realized I was really, really interested in the world of digital advertising and kind of marketing. And so when I had the opportunity to join, it's actually the same company I'm at now, but we had a previous name. We've gone through a rebrand, Kenshu, and kind of run their brand and their website and their corporate marketing stuff. I was really excited about that because I got to work on a tech product, but still do, kind of the creative marketing that I loved. And I came in as like the web manager, like the website manager, almost 10 years ago. More than 10 years ago, actually. It was 2012. And just kind of had a great manager and, had someone who saw more in me and kept giving me opportunity and kind of growing my remit. And at some point I just like made the switch in my head that, maybe I wasn't just up for managing the creative side of marketing and the brand side, but maybe, kind of the whole of it. I left Kenshu and went to another consumer app company called Spot Hero. If you've ever booked a parking spot in the United States, you might have used it. It's an app. It's
big
really,
company, yeah.
Really, really awesome app. And I came in there, to do something similar, kind of build up their brand and build up their B2B marketing practice because it is a marketplace business with a B2B side. And there I was, working hand in hand with the head of digital, and it was all about customer acquisition again, like it always is in a consumer company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so when I came back to Kenshu a couple years later to head up all of marketing, I really wanted to take some of that digital acquisition practice and kind of living and breathing the data all day, every day into the company and see what we could do. With a little bit of a different mindset. We had done like a little bit of lead gen earlier as a marketing team, but really we were, kind of classic early 2010s SaaS marketing mindset, which is really around events and PR and analyst relations and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So kind of took everything that I had learned and threw it back into the company that I already knew and loved.
Yeah, no, this is so interesting. So it looks like you've touched everything. You've touched PPC, SEO, early days. You've had your hands on events and PR and the traditional stuff. We're in an interesting space right now. 2023, we've just recovered from the hangover. We're still recovering from the hangover of COVID. Events kind of had a resurgence this year. PPC costs are going through the roof. SEO is getting harder and harder. And also with AI now, the future of SEO is kind of uncertain. For you, where do you see what are your favorite channels to market on nowadays? And maybe you can talk about it through the lens of, I guess you have experience in both B2C and B2B. So maybe talk through the lens of both of those sides.
Sure. Well, I mean, just taking kind of the B2B lens first, there's it's really hard, I think increasingly hard, and it's true of consumer as well, to
Hmm.
make a real dent using your organic channels. It's tough. The SEO is like, it's crucial and you got to keep doing it, but it's typically
Yeah.
not the source of anything. It's kind of the last touch in the journey. So most of our
Yeah.
SEO driven traffic is branded, and increasingly, all the engines are pushing kind of paid over organic listings. And similarly with like even social media, it's just, if you're in B2B, I think it's like pretty hard to get a very rabid organic social following. You have to pay.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
but that said, like paid search for us is like, it's just an unbelievable performer year after year after year. It converts. It's not the whole story. It's never the whole story. Um, but it's amazingly good. And I would say like events is something that I've come around to. Like I've always enjoyed the process of putting on great events when we host them, but sponsoring trade shows and spending so much money on that kind of stuff
Hmm. Hmm.
has never felt good. But I'm
Hmm.
coming around. I'm trying, kind of learning how to make it work and still be high ROI and not feel like, oh my God, we just spent so much of our budget on this stupid booth that didn't make it any difference. Um, I think
Well,
video, just like last thing I'll say, like I think video is like the most exciting channel. Um,
mhm.
and getting it right isn't easy because it's attention spans are different, and creative tastes have changed. But as a creative, I can't help but get really excited over the potential there.
Yeah, which is why we're here taking shots of hot
Yeah.
sauce while talking about marketing. There you go.
Fair.
Well, excited to dive into all of that stuff. Before we dive into the marketing channels and everything, I'm sure we're going to nerd out a lot on events, PPC, and all that stuff. Let's give a little bit of love to Sky. I mean, Sky, we've kind of talked a little bit about. You guys are an omni-channel advertising platform. Maybe in a couple of sentences, explain a little bit more from your words. What exactly does Sky do, and how do you guys make money?
I would love nothing more. So Sky's an ad platform, and so we're primarily tech. We have like very kind of very small percentage of services in our business, aimed primarily just at helping businesses through like our clients if they need transitional kind of managed services. But we're a tech platform, and we started out in paid search, so in PPC back in the early days of that industry, like 2006, before DoubleClick or Google or anybody really
Mm.
dominated it. There were a lot of platforms like Kenshu that really excelled at helping advertisers get like the most bang for their buck on paid search. Um, all very algorithmically driven, a lot of secret sauce and kind of proprietary tech there. And then we expanded, and we got an early foothold primarily in with big retailers, but not only, and financial services and travel companies like Kayak and Expedia, et cetera. And then when social media advertising took off, Sky, kind of was an early adopter of that tech. And then similarly, more recently, retail media, which is kind of the hottest new, kind of digital ad channel. So those are the
Yeah.
ads that you see on big retailers like Amazon, Walmart, Target, et cetera. We were kind of an early API partner to the big players in that space as well. So it's interesting about our company is like a lot of times, we would move into an ad space because it was our client. So for example, Facebook was one of our clients for search. And so when they were building their ads API, they came to us, and asking for help. Amazon, was a client. So when they were building out their business, they came to us for help. And we built significant lines of business in each of those channels and a couple others. And the space changed a lot over the last decade, where even just 5 years, where all of those kind of point solution technology partners that you had for different channels of your advertising started to there were fewer and fewer of them, independent of the native tools that the publishers offered
Right.
themselves. And we started to realize that what marketers really need today is to be able to manage across all of these channels and all of the publishers that are in them now, and bring it all together, see, kind of performance across everything, get the data, get the insights,
Exactly.
and then, and get those efficiencies of scale. So that's, kind of been our pivot into a more omni-channel platform. We acquired a
Yeah.
data analytics company so that we could really, build up our data muscle. And today we have clients who are, really looking to kind of understand their entire ad spend across multiple walled gardens, and get the most out of it. Or just bring all their data together. Sometimes, like, they literally just need a place to connect all of their data streams across all of their, brands or geos, channels, and publishers.
Yeah. And so that's awesome. We're going to dive into all of the stuff that you guys are doing, because it's pretty incredible. It's an incredible tool. I think I've even used it once before in a previous role.
Mm-hmm.
You just managing multiple data is just so important when it comes to ad spend. Otherwise, you're just throwing money into the ether. So it's so important to get your data right. Now,
100%.
going to ask our first couple of hot sauce questions just to understand the
Okay.
size of the company. You guys are primarily bootstrapped, right? Or have you guys raised anything?
Yeah, we've definitely raised, but relative, I think, to the size of our company, not so much. So we've raised, I want to say, 60 to 70 million in venture,
Oh,
and but that's pretty slim for a company our size. So really, we've been kind of a product of our own success and even profitability for a long time already.
wow. Yeah, because most of the times when you think about, because I guess you guys don't really offer agency services, right? It's more of a SaaS platform.
Primarily,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. If it was more of the agency side, then it would be more bootstrap. So, okay, so 60, $70 million raised. Do you remember at what valuation that was at?
Not something we speak about publicly at this stage.
Oh, well then. I
Are you
think
gonna hot sauce me? Oh
we're
gosh.
gonna, yeah, yes. Sophia's screaming in my ear.
All right.
We're
Pouring my
not
shot.
to, right. We're upgrading. We're getting to the Mr. Picante.
Okay,
Cheers.
let's go.
Ooh. All right. So a big raise,
It wakes you up.
60 to 7 million. Yep. Ooh,
over
yeah.
over over multiple raises over time. I mean, we're
Multiple
not,
raises.
yeah, since 2006.
Yeah. Can you name some of your biggest investors?
Yeah, Sequoia, Bain Capital, Tenaya, Arts Alliance, um, maybe one or two angels in there as well, but those are the big names.
Yeah. Okay. Um, and you guys are serving massive clients. Can you name some of the larger or largest clients that you guys are working with?
Yeah,
Oh,
you okay
hiccups.
over there? You gonna be okay with your picante?
Oh, all right. Gonna be drinking
Oh,
this today.
that's gonna magnify it.
You think so?
Yeah,
Okay,
bubbles after hot sauce? Big mistake.
we'll go
Do
with it
it.
anyways.
Go with it.
Whoa. All right. My hiccups. I'm gonna mute myself, but
I'll talk.
tell us about some of your clients.
Yeah. Um, we tend to service larger brands with really significant size marketing programs and advertising spends, just because, our tech is, it's meant to handle scale and, kind of capacity and growth with stability. So really smaller players probably aren't going to be a good fit for us. But any advertiser that spends, more than around 100K a month and up tends to be a good fit for us. That said, we We have a lot of big, flashy household names in our client roster. We have thousands of clients, either with direct relationships with them or through the relationships with the agencies that service them. You good?
You're right. Bubbly with hot sauce is not a good idea.
No, never.
I don't know.
You need you need like a piece of
It's making it
bread or
worse.
like flat water.
I think so.
So some
Anyways,
of the
so
bigger,
big brands.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in sectors like financial services, where we work with, Capital One and some of the big insurance companies, other banks we work with, in CPG, many household name brands, and big retailers like Macy's and Etsy and um,
Mm.
um, DoorDash, and we also have like a big apps business, by the way, because we help with Apple search ads, so the ads that you see on the
Mm.
search engine stores. So we have a lot of apps companies that are kind of pure play
Okay.
apps businesses, or the apps arms of big companies like Uber and Airbnb and um, Paramount, and so we've got a pretty diverse kind of client spread.
Wow. So the largest of the large, like you literally named all the the largest companies, pretty much in North America or even around the world. What's the cost? Like, I'm assuming there's a huge price wall to ensure that high because this is such a is mostly for bigger platforms. What's the cost to use Sky?
I'm glad you asked about it, because we've actually gone through quite a pivot in terms of our pricing model. And we did it for reasons that I'll explain. So typically in advertising technology, you charge by taking a percentage of based on the media spend that the client is spending in the channel. So you take a percent of whatever their paid search spend is, or their paid social, if that's what you're kind of helping them with, and then maybe like a flat at a certain point, you take a little bit of money on top. When we decided to kind of bring our solutions together into a single unified platform, like a one-stop shop where marketers could really manage all of their channels and publishers, and honestly stop thinking about channels and publishers and start thinking about
Mm.
customers and how, places where they can connect with them. We realized that this kind of old model of percent of ad spend, it's super limiting. It makes it so
Yeah.
that you almost don't want to spend more, because you're going to have to pay more, first of all. So you don't like really want to experiment with growing your investment. It's very hard to kind of move across channels and publishers every time you take on a new publisher or try a different channel. You've got to then renegotiate, go back into commercials. So what we decided to do, and this is all at a time, right, where the economy is kind of like really, really uncertain around us, and businesses are tightening their belts, and they want more predictability. They want to be able to, kind of say how the year will go. So we decided to change our
Mm.
model. This year, we launched for the first time platform pricing with tiers based on the size of your program, but essentially a flat fee that you pay us once a year, or twice a year if you negotiate that. And you don't have, and it's all inclusive. So you have a package, you know what it includes. You're free to experiment with new publishers if you want to try them on. Like maybe you don't know how TikTok will perform for your business, and you want to take a little bit of money, of your ad spend and put it there, but you don't want to go back through legal, with your tech partner. You don't have to anymore. So essentially we have three tiers. They're based on roughly the size of your program, how much you spend on advertising. And the bottom tier starts at 90K
Okay.
a year, so flat fee. So really
Wow.
not an insane price, given the fact that typically it'll pay for itself within like a couple months based on the savings you're going to get in performance.
Mm. And so you mentioned there are tiers. What is that first tier? Like 90K per year? Like how much do companies have to spend to qualify for that tier
That's
typically?
like if you're spending about $1 million,
Okay.
about $1 million a year in ad spend. So that's that's kind of our entry level. And then below there, we
Okay.
also have agency partners that we work with very closely who handle the smaller players and, can still use our tech, but they'll take, kind of smaller ad spend on.
Okay. So doing the math, that's about a 9% on ad spend, kind of.
Well, it's not just ad spend though. You're getting access to, I don't know what the percentages are. We don't think like that anymore, but
Okay.
essentially it's quite cost effective because you're not only getting ad spend, you're getting all of our kind of complementary products. So we offer intelligence
Right.
products, we offer a data environment, we have insights around your creative, and depending on what tier you fall in, and we have services that you can turn on and off as needed, so for extra support. So depending on what tier you fall into, um, the
Yeah.
offering grows.
Yeah.
But I think what it really does is just change the way the industry starts to think about digital advertising and gets them out of the mindset of like optimizing each channel in a silo and pretending that it tells the whole story of a customer, and helps you start thinking holistically and then operating, kind of in a more holistic way.
Yeah. And it changes how companies use platforms like Sky as well. Uh, People expect platforms like Sky to have the magic answer for everything. So it's just a percentage of spend. But really,
Right.
when you do it this way, you companies will turn Sky into a partner where you guys are figuring out the
Exactly.
answers together because there is no answer. The ad platforms change every half a year, and
They
and the
change all the
and the
time.
users change.
Yeah, there's new publishers, there's new ad types, and I like to think of it as like a shift from using a piece of tech to having an environment that your team can use to experiment, to grow, to really understand what you're doing, and to activate, and execute. So it goes from being like, a tool that like one person on your team uses to an ecosystem that your team can kind of rally around. And that's how we're hearing some of our more successful clients. They say it's transformational for them. It's changing, kind of
Yeah,
who works with who on the team and the level of conversation that they're able to have.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, this is a good segue because you guys are doing a bunch, and obviously we talked about pricing, clients as well.
Hmm.
To give us a sense of how large the company is at, I've done a little bit of research. I
Okay.
hear you guys are over 100 million, about 120 million in revenue. Want to hear it from you, the CMO, first.
I
What
would
are
say,
we looking at in
I would
terms of
say
revenue?
keep
More?
keep keep climbing. Yeah, we're higher than that. I'd say we're the range I'll give you is 140 to 160. Um,
Okay.
and and
That's a very
and
good
there's
range.
Yeah, I mean, the company's doing extremely well. We're also profitable, which, gives us a lot of control over our own destiny and the kinds of investments that we make. Um, so we have kind of a nice margin to work with, which really helped us through times like COVID when a lot of our competitors and partners in the space had to do massive amounts of layoffs just to stay afloat. um, we're in a good position from that regard, and we're one of the
Yeah.
few kind of independent platforms in our space at this point that really has some remarkable assets.
Yeah. So, so you guys are profitable. What do profits look like? What are we
Shall we?
talking about? We shall. Thank you, Sophie, for that. Sophie gave me
She
that
knows.
question, and she knows how to induce the hot sauce. Thank you, Sophie.
Do you have
Back to habanero for now. That last one got me.
Yeah, I'm worried about you.
So
Okay,
I'm
let's
worried
go.
about me too. Cheers.
I'm enjoying it.
All right.
Waking me up.
Yeah. 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 Um, so it's late over there. How are you in like the city center of? I don't really know the area too well. But maybe give our audience a little
um,
bit of a. You
yeah,
okay?
so I like could use maybe like a little bit of my water. Not gonna lie.
I'll do a little bit too. Cheers.
For anyone who knows Israel, I'm about 30 minutes north of Tel Aviv, in a city called Ra'anana. So, um, yeah, kind of the center of the country. Obviously, things here are tough at the moment. A lot going on that
Yeah.
we're dealing with, but happy to bring some levity in with a late night hot
Yeah.
sauce sesh.
Yeah. No, we'll talk a little bit more about. I'm curious about how the tech scene is going in
Yeah.
Israel. I'm sure you're very plugged in, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, let's move in. Let's move away from the
Okay.
numbers. You guys are big working with big clients, big revenue numbers, undisclosed profit margins.
Hmm.
But let's talk about marketing budgets a little bit. So obviously,
Okay.
you're helping a lot of companies do their marketing, but on your end, you got to find ways to get more clients as well, right? To attract more clients. I mean, you guys already have some of the largest clients. I assume a lot of it is through word of mouth, and it's you've already attracted so many customers. But how do you guys continue to attract more clients? Or do you have a marketing strategy? And maybe we'll talk about the different channels that you guys are using too.
Yeah, no strategy. I just kind of show up and I definitely have a
Just show up.
strategy. And it's definitely work. I mean, listen, like, we don't take for granted any of the relationships we have. We have to work for them every single day and make sure that,
Yeah,
that not only do they renew, but we bring new logos in the door. It's a competitive space. So what I do is really like almost evenly spread demand gen and branding. And obviously branding ultimately should lead to demand gen and I think be measurable as such. So my
exactly.
program as I manage it with an amazing team, by the way, who really do the hard work so that I can take fun calls
Shots of
like
hot
this.
sauce.
Yeah, exactly. At 7 p.m. Um, so we're pretty evenly distributed between well, maybe more like 40% advertising, 40% maybe events. Those are the two really big budget items. And then the rest kind of being spread between like subcontractors, the agencies and the tech that we partner with, PR, analyst relations, kind of leveraging influencers, and of course, headcount plays a role.
Okay, so events is a huge piece, and that
Yeah,
second piece. Sorry, I was just plugging in my laptop. That second piece was demand gen was forty
yeah,
percent
like paid advertising. Yeah,
paid advertising, and
mm-hmm.
then the other 20% is for contractors and kind of headcount. Do you add headcount into that as well, or is that a separate bucket?
It's kind of a separate bucket for us.
Okay.
So I'm kind of talking about working spend.
Okay, work and spend. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I can imagine when you're dealing with large clients like the Amazons of the world and Microsoft and Pepsi, you kind of want to get them out and you want kind of want to meet them, right? Because
Yeah,
it's a relationship business at the end of the day. And not only that, you get a chance to showcase some of your bigger clients, and that's I think events, IRL events is a huge one of the best ways to do it. So let's dive. I want to dive into those two buckets a little bit. What you guys are doing in terms of demand gen, and what you guys are doing in terms of events. Let's talk about events first because we've kind of talked about
okay.
demand gen earlier. What works in events for you guys, and how do you guys do it to make sure that you guys are getting a positive ROI?
So we think about events in a few different buckets. So one being those that we host, another being those that we sponsor. So like industry conferences that we have a booth at, or we pay something to be kind of
Yeah,
visible. And another being those that we partner with. So we work very closely with our kind of strategic partners, sometimes with clients, et cetera. So, and across all of those, there's virtual and, as you said, IRL. I think hands down, the live events are the most effective. They're the most meaningful
hmm yeah,
in every way, by every measure. And we
yeah,
missed them. We missed them a lot during the pandemic, and part of me was like, oh, good, we don't have to go to those awful trade shows again. But really, when it came to hosting our own trade show, it was a huge gap not having it, even though we did a virtual one. So I think those hosted events that we put on, my team has managed for, the better part of a decade. I'm really, really proud of them. We've become, I think, known in the industry for putting on really special hosted events, just from a experience, kind of lens, and also from a content lens. And we really pride ourselves on, like, when we're going to do something, we're going to really think about making it great versus cobbling it together. And that's not always a good thing, because it takes a lot of time and resource to execute on the level that we're comfortable with. So we're trying to get better at doing smaller, kind of lower investment events, scrappier stuff. But definitely 2024 we'll be bringing back the big hosted events that we're known for.
Oh my God. Let's dive into this part, because this is the area that I'm the most passionate about in 2023.
Yeah, you love events, right? You're really into you do a lot of event marketing. Yeah, I remember that.
So I'll keep it short, and I want to hear about your side. So I started Marketing on Mars last 14 months ago, and literally my event story started. I just invited 6 of my guests, founders that came on the show, and we went to grab happy hour. And from 6 founders, the next time we did it, each one brought a friend and another friend. So we got 15 founders, and it kept growing to 30 founders, 50 founders, 70 founders. We did one with Amazon, AWS, a month and a half ago. We just brought 75 founders in a room, and we just grabbed breakfast. These are the low effort events that you're talking about. They're very high impact, because you're bringing exactly who you want in the to be in the room. So you don't have to pay $15,000 for a booth and have to fight for attention with 30,000 people. You want to talk to founders, you bring them in a room, you have breakfast, and it's just casual networking, right? I love low effort events, because they're so targeted. I don't have to go through and sift through the crowd. Talk to us a little bit about that. You mentioned that that's something that you want to do more of. What has been your experience with these smaller, low effort events versus these larger, big, grand booths? Which most of the money, let's be honest, most of the money goes towards production than the actual curation of things. But talk to us a little bit about your experience.
So my experience with the smaller, scrappier, events is that they're hit or miss. They, in theory, it makes sense. Like, you just want to bring the right people together and give them a chance to have, meaningful conversation and maybe grow from learning something from each other. It's not about the production, to your point. It's about the person-to-person interaction. And it sounds really good in theory. My experience is that, it's hard to get the numbers, because people will commit and then they'll just not show, or really have to, you have to really expect, a high amount of attrition from those registrations. And then you're always kind of holding your breath. Like, who's going to actually show?
What percent do you usually see? Like, what's the attrition rate at these smaller events for you?
30% attendance from registration. Well, I don't know about the smaller. I'd have to check with my team if that still holds water for smaller ones. But like, if we hold, typically we'll see 30 to 50% actual attendance. So that's tough, because, you put in a lot of effort. And it's not just that you put in the effort for fewer people. It's that the experience for those people isn't going to be as good if the room isn't full.
Isn't full, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bit of risk involved that I don't love. And, that's really my only issue. What I find with the higher touch, higher production events, especially if they span over a couple of days and they involve travel, is that people really just they commit to them. They come and they're there, and they kind of let loose from their day to day. They're not squeezing it in. And they just kind of enjoy it. And you let if you do it right, people let their guard down. They really, get comfortable and have open conversation and good networking and fun. And that goes a long way to the relationship building and, kind of just even getting like the the renewal in person, the handshake. And for us, we've always been a company that really prides ourselves on our people and our culture and our general kind of ethos as a company. We, a lot of high sense of integrity.
Hmm.
And we believe that you should meet us. If you meet us and you kind of spend time with us, you feel the difference. Um,
Yeah.
but it's a lot of work and it costs a lot of money. So
It's a lot of work, a lot of money. Yeah, I agree with you with these smaller events. There's going to be attrition because, especially with these, for example, like my events are founders only, and founders are not going to pay to meet other
right.
founders, right? So tickets are free, and when tickets are free, there's always going to be attrition. I think for with smaller events, it's all about curation, right? So for us, because we curate really, I feel like I try my best to curate as best as possible. We typically get about 65-70% show up rate, which is
Great.
very good for any. But
Yeah,
it's
it's
because
really
we're
good.
very highly targeted seed and pre-seed founders only, and we're very
Mhm.
specific about that. Um, and so, but with these larger conferences, curious to hear, because you guys run some of them yourselves, right? Like how many people? What's the cost? Talk to us a little bit about, because the behind the scenes kind of things that maybe not a lot of people know in terms of running these big events. There's a lot that goes into it.
So much. Yeah. I mean, first of all, when I say like kind of the big production value, I'm really only talking about the ones that we host and we put on. When it comes to
Okay.
sponsoring trade shows, it's not to say we don't sometimes spend a ton of money to have a big presence at a trade show, but there's
Yeah.
not that much creativity involved. There's not so much you can typically do. Whereas when it's our show, we can really make it interesting and scenic. So typically we like to do a destination, kind of place, and our
Mm.
founders, these aren't like slick Wall Street tech bro types. They're like really earthy, kind of, I mean, it's the whole Israel vibe, but like they like to be outdoors. They love to surf. They love to hike. So they
Mm.
always want to do a location that's very beautiful, that has like a lot of nature, a lot of greenery, or by the beach. So we try to find a venue that's going to be visually just stunning and exciting to go to. And we try to do as much outdoors as we can and offer activities along with, kind of the formal program. Um, this
When
we
was the last one, and where did you guys do that one?
So the last one was a bit of an exception to the whole experience thing. And that's because it was right after COVID. It was 2022, right when we were starting to see a return to in person
Yeah.
events. And we knew we couldn't
Mm.
expect people to travel, really.
Mm.
So we did it in New York
Right.
City. Some people did travel, but we did it in New York City. We made it one day. And for that one, even though it was like right in Soho and right in kind of a city venue, we transformed the venue that we had into a store. It was called Shoppable, the event, and it was all about retail media and commerce advertising. And so we made, we turned this studio venue that we had into this like real retail store kind of experience, and the
Hmm.
signage and the stations were all, looked as if you were shopping, but really it was just our Sky swag that you could take off the shelf and keep. Um, so it's just like really creative.
Wow.
I have someone on my team who's really good at this, and we work with agencies too to help us kind of manage the chaos. I do want to tell you about a different one though. I
Okay.
did a different one a few years ago in the UK. My VP of marketing, she lives in London, and she's like a mad creative genius, and so she kind of came up with this concept of making it like a festival, so sort of like a Coachella,
Oh.
but type vibe.
Whoa.
And we had it in Greenwich, in this huge kind of empty like dirt park, essentially like a farm type area. And we had music stations, and there was like food stations, and and stages with content going on, that you could go from session to session, but you were sitting on beanbag chairs on the floor, and you got kind of festival bracelets and all kinds of, and everyone was supposed to wear festival clothing, and it was so much fun. There was like a karaoke booth and just, so it was a
That's
big
crazy.
mix. Yeah, it was like a big mix between party, but also it was in the day, and really
Who
good
typically
content.
comes to your events? Because I assume a lot of your existing clients and also new potential clients will come. Are they
Yeah,
typically the account executives, CMOs, VPs? Like what are
both.
the characters?
Both, a lot of times it's the hand-on keyboard, practitioner who wants to kind of up their skill set, and by coming they're going to get some actual, kind of hard skill workshops and hear what's coming out, and learn the product. But
Hmm.
increasingly, it's the decision maker, it's their boss who wants to be kind of ahead of the game and be visible, because we're giving a lot of exposure at these events to the biggest companies in the world and to the biggest tech companies in the world too, through our partners. So we get a really big mix. We try to get our clients on stage talking about how they use the platform. That's always the most interesting. We try to give, kind of create panel discussions and debates, um, which is always kind of fun. So
Wow.
we get a
And
good mix.
what percent for these events? What, because obviously it has to be ROI positive for you guys. If
Mhm.
it's what percent are existing clients? What percent are new potential clients that you want to bring in the room so that I assume things like this, especially this music festival, is not cheap.
No,
Like,
and we and
like,
we we historically haven't charged a ticket fee either. It's kind of like a gift we
yeah,
do to the clients. So it's about 70-30, like clients versus net new.
net new. Okay.
Excuse me. So yeah, I mean, it's really for our clients, but it's a great way for, you can see my dog in the background. Hope he doesn't bother you. It's a great way for, like, companies that we're
Give him some
talking
hot
to that
sauce.
are, no, that would not be good. If we're already in conversation with some of these advertisers, it's a great way for them to learn more and, help their decision along, see what we're about.
Yeah. How much does it typically cost to run one of these things? Like that last one, the Coachella style. Like how much did that one? What was
Well,
the ticket price?
Europe is really cheap. So, relative
Oh,
to the US in terms of putting on events. Um, I want to say we spent like around 250 on it.
250.
Yeah, and
That's
the
cheap.
US,
That's cheap for a
yeah, I mean, the US ones
big
are,
conference.
can be three times that.
Oh
We
yeah.
do get sponsors, usually our tech partners, so Amazon and Walmart and Meta and Google and Apple, like they'll all sponsor the event and
Yeah.
have like a presence there. Um, Sometimes stage time, sometimes just kind of like a sponsors hall area. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
Of course. No, they're not. That's amazing. Okay, we talked a lot about events. Wanted to kind of move over to actually, hot sauce question here. I
Okay.
realize we haven't touched hot sauce in a while. You've been very transparent with everything, really, aside from revenue figures, but still, even revenue figures, you gave a really good range. Um, I'm going to ask another question that typically CMOs aren't really transparent about. How much are you making as a CMO at Sky?
I wish I could share that. Maybe it would be a better world if we all shared that kind of thing.
I
um,
know.
but
All right, okay. Let's.
alas, we are not there yet. So
Alas, we're
let's,
not there yet.
yeah.
All right. Um, how cool would it be if we lived in a world where all of our salaries are shown? Would that even be possible? Would we want to live in a world like that?
I think about it sometimes. I think it depends how much of a capitalist you are or not, because it would change things.
Mm,
Cheers.
cheers. Move on.
So good. Mine is so good. You should get this.
Really?
It's
Mine is
delicious.
horrible. You shouldn't. You
I'm
shouldn't get
not.
this.
I'm not. You look like you're suffering. Thought I'm supposed
Oh
to
God.
suffer.
Oh. So we talked about demand gen. It works really well for you guys. I'm assuming it's the same as what we talked about in the beginning. All the different culprits. Actually, just really quick, of all the different ad channels, what works the best for you guys?
Um, I believe it's paid search. You know,
Yeah,
I think that's the most, like the highest ROI. Other channels have high ROI, but they're not like pure play. Like they're the result of activity that happened before, you know? So it's like
exactly,
you can't give that
exactly.
last touch, yeah, contribution.
Um, of all the different channels, though, between paid search, like all the different demand gen channels, whew, my tongue's on fire, and then also events. If you were to pinpoint one of these different channels or activities that you're doing that leads to the greatest ROI, I know it's really hard to do because it's omni-channel. Which channel is your favorite? That would you would say this is by far our MVP channel, like our number one channel?
You're like asking me to pick one of my favorite children, you know, they all make the family. But honestly, I think if I had to say, like, if we turned it off tomorrow, would it really hurt the business? I think paid
Yeah.
search. I think paid
Wow.
search. And listen, I'm like, we use our own product. We use Sky's search product to manage our search program. Um, and that's, by the way, when things really changed for us when we started taking our program onto Sky. We didn't do it right away because we weren't that big a spender, and we didn't immediately go there. But once we kind of brought our search onto Sky's search, we saw incredible things. So I think that's the one that, like, we can't do without it, but it's a really well optimized machine too. So it doesn't take that much effort once you've kind of laid the groundwork.
Okay. So kind of like in sports, there's always like a rookie of the year
Mm-hmm.
award. What
Hmm.
new channels have you guys been testing in the last 1 or 2 years that, at least in the last 12 months, what new channel has really like, wow, this new channel has led to the most results. And also we foresee them doing really well in the future as well.
Um, I'll give you two. So one, I don't know if it's really a channel as much as a practice, a way of life, which is
Practice.
ABM, account based marketing. Um,
Yes.
but through the use of tech, and once we found the right tech for that, it made a huge difference. So kind of looking at our client base, like I said, we have they're all big businesses, but there's smaller big businesses, and then there's bigger
Bigger.
big businesses, right?
Yeah.
Businesses that have many holding companies with many brands under them and many geos and many business lines, versus, let's say, like a direct to consumer startup, not even a startup, but a direct to consumer business, like
Yeah.
Primal Kitchen, who sells a lot of great products in the grocery store. Take that and compare it with like a GSK, who that is the owner of many brands. So using demand gen and kind of like the digital machine, the really well optimized digital advertising machine, works really well at getting that volume of smaller or mid-tier companies that are kind of always, there's so many of them, and they're always looking, they're often shopping for new tech. So making sure that we don't miss any of those is really important, using kind of tried and true paid media, digital optimization, going after the really big guns, the whales, and the ones that you're not just a tech provider for, but you're building a strategic relationship. That takes a little more, art and finesse and care. And so for those, we use account based marketing, which is,
ABM.
yeah, so that we can really understand where they're at before we even start to engage with them. Like, what can we learn in the dark funnel, outside of their direct engagement with our brand, that will lead to a more qualitative engagement with them. So that's something we've been working on for a few years, but I would say, like, right when we switched tech platforms, it started to become way more effective. And
Yeah.
and it's really, I think, going to be a game changer.
Yeah. Well, we'll definitely. I think we're coming up on time. Do you have another call coming up?
I do. I think they're slacking me right now, but it's okay. I can take another minute.
Okay. Would have loved to dive into ABM and all that stuff. Also, we have a segment where we tell dad jokes. Maybe
Oh,
we'll leave that for next time.
oh, give me one.
Or
Give me one dad
I'll give you
joke.
one. I'll give
Come
you
on.
one. I'll give you one, and then we'll do round two, maybe in the new year.
Okay.
We'll talk about ABM. Maybe dive a little bit deeper in. And we didn't really dive into the paid search and the paid ad strategy part. We spent so much time on events,
Yeah.
which was so
No,
much
there's a lot
to
more
talk
to it.
about. So we'll definitely do part two. But I'll give you one. I'll give you one dad joke. If you laugh, you'll take a shot of hot sauce, and if you don't, I'll take a shot of hot sauce. Make it
Okay.
fair. I'm going to try to give you the best one I have, and
Come
I'll
on. Make
try
it
not to
good.
repeat an old one. Yeah. Okay. Uh, this one's not good. Okay. All right. Oh well, you laughed.
I'm
There you
already
go.
laughing. Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right. This is bad. Okay.
Just do
Why?
it.
Okay, fine. Did you hear about the guy who stole the calendar, like a calendar from the factory?
I did not.
Well, he got 12 months.
Ha 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 ha. Ha ha ha. LOL. Is that good? Do I just, I need to do
Okay,
this for you because you tried.
we'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah. We have better ones, but I don't want to repeat. Some of them were pretty funny. I'll tell
Okay.
you them offline.
I believe
All
you.
right.
I'm
Cheers.
sure. Cheers.
All right. Last last minute. Just want to hear about your background before we jump out. Like, how did you become this uh, kind of very high level? Like, you're not only are you high level in terms of marketing, you're the CMO at a massive company. How did this happen? Like, did you have a lot of mentorship along the way? Like, what would you attribute your success to for some of the marketers that are listening and like, that mid-level marketer, that mid-level area? A lot of
Hmm.
people get stuck for their whole life as a mid-level uh, mid-level marketer or director, and they can't get to the next level. What allowed you to break through?
Well, first of all, I want to say there's nothing wrong with that level. Okay, like there's amazing careers to be built,
Yeah.
long careers that are fulfilling and that are meaningful and lucrative. It's not always about climbing into a higher title or whatever. It has to be what's right for you, um,
Well
as a
said.
person, and what you're good at and how many people you want to be accountable for. Like I have amazingly talented managers on my team who really don't would much rather be an individual contributor than manage a team of other people because it's not what they love. It happens to be for me something that I truly love and get a lot of gratification from. And I think my path has been um, just like a combination of being really a curious person and having a strong sense of belief in myself. I'm not, the smartest person in any room. I'm not going to be the most creative person in any room. I just think I have what to add, and I've kind of always let that be my compass for pushing myself forward. That kind of combined with really good mentors at really strategic moments when I needed them. It's not this constant mentorship. It's just
Yeah.
like apertures, like these kind of moments I've had in my career where I needed someone to give me the language to use, to give me the perspective I didn't have, to see something about myself that I couldn't see. Those like kind of micro moments where you have a good person to talk to, and like those for me have been huge. So it's it's a combination of things, and I think just like chasing the work, like chase the work, chase chase the experience of working and how it makes you feel, and what you get out of it, more than, some kind of end game position, because you actually never know what the next position is going to be like and if it's going to be as great as you imagine. But if you're chasing the work and the passion for the work and the experience for it, then that will always take you to a good place. It's easier said than
Yeah.
done sometimes, but I think that's for me what it's been about.
Would you consider yourself a really ambitious person? Like if you were to rate yourself like 1 out of 10, would you say that you're like a 9 or like an 8 or 9, or like
I'm
pretty
probably
high up
like
there?
an 8. I think I have moments where I'm a 10. Like I have days where I'm like brain on
On
fire and I
fire.
just want to like
Yeah.
go and like win
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
conquer the world and do all kinds of stuff. And then I have days where I'm like, I don't need that to be happy. And it's true. Both of those things are true. So,
Yeah.
but I think generally, yeah, I'm a pretty ambitious person.
What stands out to me is when I interview I've had 80 C-suites, CMOs, CEOs, and also founders of 100, 200, 300, $600 million companies. And the one thing that I find in common for those that are listening that want to break out, I know it's okay to be in the mid level, but if you want to break out, that the common theme is ambitiousness. Like everyone is very ambitious. They want more, not in a selfish sense, but it's just growth fulfills
Yeah.
them,
Yeah, you kind
and
of want to see where your own limits are. Like
where are your
you don't
limits?
know, or what you're gonna like, what you're really gonna enjoy that you haven't experienced yet. Like I will say, I never tried to be a CMO. That was not my objective.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually made decisions at certain points not to go this career path because I didn't think I'd like it, and I love it.
And the craziest thing
So
is when the craziest things in life happen when you don't want it. Like if you wanted to find a husband, you wouldn't find a husband. If you wanted to find a wife, you wouldn't find a wife. It's those little moments as you're growing, as you're becoming a better person, and suddenly you meet someone in the grocery store. Those little tiny unplanned moments. That's when all the magic happens. You put
yeah,
yourself in good positions. You put yourself become the best Margo possible, become the best Simon possible, and then you'll find those moments. Well, Margo, I know your team is probably slacking you like crazy. You probably had to jump out, but thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation. Would
it was
love
really
to get
fun.
you back. Yeah, would love to get you back for round two. Anyone that's listening that wants to learn more about you, where are you the most active? Are you pretty active on certain social media channels that they can find you on?
I used to be, and then this war broke out here that we're going through right now, and I had to just get rid of social media for my own sanity. But I'm still on LinkedIn, so I'm sure I'll go back. I can't take it right now. But I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm easy to find there. So I'd love to connect with anyone. I'm always looking for new connections.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to talk too much about the situation.
Not much to
You're doing
say.
okay. Yeah,
It's tough.
you're doing okay, like
Yeah,
personally. Yeah,
yeah, I'm right.
yeah. Okay,
I don't know
well,
if anyone's
Margo.
okay. No one's okay, but we're moving forward. So thank you for
Yeah,
asking.
well, yeah, I appreciate you coming on despite all that's happening. We'll get you on for round two. We'll have a lot to talk about. So
Sounds
appreciate you
great.
and talk soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that episode. I know I did. My mouth was burning on fire for about 30 minutes there, so I had to take a quick break before I recorded this, but I really just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. Most of us work at home nowadays, and we're all just in our pajamas, in our t-shirts, and in our hoodies. It just feels really fun and really light, and that's the kind of vibe that I'm trying to give. If there's anything that you want to add into the show, new segments or new topics to talk about, feel free to throw it into the comments below. Thank you so much again. Would not be here without your support. Until next time, peace out. Hope to see you soon.